both of his dudes in FBG got caught by the police in trap spots. That's a little bit confusing to me, Jack. One guy basically just liquidated like his musical fame, got $100 million, and he's spending buying this, that, and third, tricking on women, doing whatever he does. And then the rest of the team, they're keep getting caught in drug spots. That's kind of confusing. Ain't that confusing, Chad?
Future's own flesh and blood is now facing the possibility of life behind bars for distributing enough fentanyl to wipe out millions. All this while Future is sitting comfortably on a $100 million fortune which he got from selling his entire music catalog. This goes beyond just being loyal to family. This is about the outcome when greed and envy reach such a peak that a person is potentially exposed for informing on their own friends and even their brother, just to avoid getting dragged down with them. Beyond Future's opulent Miami estate and his high-end designer wardrobe, his brother, Rico Casino, was reportedly running a massive drug operation involving 21 kilos of lethal poison. He was eventually apprehended by federal agents inside an Airbnb that they had turned into a stash house. We have secured the official federal court documents, the press conference video, and the real story that no one is brave enough to tell you. The shocking reason why Future never truly pulled his people out of the trenches is far more sinister than anyone has imagined. And we're about to dissect exactly how money changed everything within the Free Band's gang. From young Scooter's avoidable death to Casino's serious federal case. Yo, what's up, fam? We're about to take a serious dive into some deeply troubling family drama that is currently destroying one of Atlanta's most prominent rap dynasties. And the proof we've collected will completely shift how you view this entire situation. Stay locked in until the very end, because what I am about to disclose about Future's decisions, the federal probe, and the recurring arrests of FBG members will permanently alter your understanding of loyalty in hip-hop. Now, before we get into this outrageous mess, let me be completely upfront with you all. The internet has been full of rumors about Future's brother getting busted by the feds, but most people only have superficial details. We're talking about press releases and news headlines. But listen, we are here to distinguish the facts from the fabrications, the truth from the lies, using the actual federal complaint documents. November 14th, 2025. Approximately 10 p.m. That is the exact date and time that changed the course of the Wilburn family forever. Rico Casino, Future's blood brother and the person who essentially manages the core operations of Free Band's gang, was chilling in a Forest Park Airbnb when a massive task force of federal agents from the FBI, DEA, and Homeland Security came through with search warrants, ready to completely dismantle his world. This was not a random or spontaneous raid. This action was part of Operation Take Back America, a meticulously coordinated federal effort designed to target sophisticated transnational criminal organizations. Now wait a minute before you jump to the conclusion that this was just some petty neighborhood operation. We are discussing 21 kilograms of fentanyl. That equates to 46 pounds of pure deadly poison.
We believe that Diaz's connection to California is significant because we know, as mentioned earlier, the Mexican drug cartels smuggle fentanyl into our country over the southwest border.
To put that into frightening context, the federal government stated that quantity is enough to fatally overdose millions of people, boasting a street value of nearly $500,000. Plus, they found $380,000 in raw cash, professional money counting machines, vacuum sealers, and a Glock 19 handgun. This was clearly a professional, fully operational distribution hub.
These drugs like fentanyl, they poison our community, but they have second-order effects and spillover effects like addiction, like overdose, like violent crime in our community.
But here is where things become seriously complicated. Future had just pocketed almost $100 million 2 years earlier, yet his inner circle is still out here risking life in prison. Look, this isn't just about one isolated arrest. This highlights a troubling pattern that has been developing ever since Future secured his colossal payout. We're reminded of young Scooter's death in 2020 while he was fleeing the police from a trap house. We've seen other FBG members constantly getting entangled in various criminal situations. And now we have Future's own biological brother staring down life without the possibility of parole, while Future posts idyllic vacation photos taken from private jets. The public perception is terrible, but the underlying truth is even more disturbing. So get this. In 2022, Future sold his entire back catalog of music to influence media partners for an estimated figure between $65 and $75 million. That is wealth that lasts generations, family. We are talking about the kind of money that fundamentally alters not just your life but the lives of your grandchildren. This wasn't merely new royalties or tour earnings. This was ownership money. The kind of fortune that permanently elevates you to an entirely different tax bracket. Immediately after that money landed in his account, what did Future do? He purchased a $16 million waterfront mansion in Miami. We are discussing the kind of residence that screams success. It featured stunning waterfront views, multiple bedrooms, the whole luxurious comprehensive lifestyle package. But that wasn't sufficient. He started spending money like a man who had won the lottery, which in essence he had done. Now here is where the narrative thickens. Freeband's gang FBG was never just Future's record label. It was his family unit. Casino wasn't merely an artist signed to the label. He was Future's blood relative and the man who largely managed the day-to-day operations. When Future became increasingly consumed by his booming career, Casino was the one holding things down on the home front, ensuring everything stayed cohesive back in Atlanta. Now in the streets we have a universal understanding. When one person eats, the entire family should eat. That is the fundamental unwritten rule passed down through generations. You don't make it out and then abandon your closest people, especially not your own blood family. But Future's scenario was unique because he wasn't just becoming wealthy. He was becoming astronomically rich. Catalog money rich. Never need to work again rich. According to the federal complaint we were able to review, this was no random bust. The feds had been keeping a close eye on this operation for a considerable amount of time. They employed physical surveillance, legally intercepted communications, and relied on intelligence from confidential sources. This was a deliberate effort to dismantle what they strongly believed was a major distribution network. Visualize this scene. November 14th, 10 p.m. Federal agents pull up to the Airbnb in Forest Park. They spot two vehicles in the driveway. One registered to Casino, the other to David Diaz, a Californian with no apparent local ties to Georgia. As they begin executing the search warrant, Casino and an accompanying woman try to bolt out the side door. But let's be honest, Casino isn't exactly built for escaping on foot. They quickly apprehended him, finding $4,000 in his pocket. Inside that Airbnb, the feds uncovered a complete drug operation in the kitchen, on the stove, packed in large black duffel bags, minus 17 kilograms of suspected fentanyl, packaged in kilogram-sized bricks. Disturbingly, some of these bricks featured designer logos stamped onto them, including Louis Vuitton. That is a horrifying level of branding right there. Louis Vuitton fentanyl. The irony is truly unsettling when juxtaposed with Future's extreme luxury lifestyle. But the fentanyl itself was not the most telling discovery. They found approximately $300,000 in cash, bundled with rubber bands, stashed throughout the home, plus an additional $80,000 in a designer bag belonging to Casino. That sums up to $380,000 in suspected criminal earnings. They also recovered sophisticated money-counting machines and vacuum sealers, the exact type of equipment required when handling significant quantities of drugs and processing huge amounts of cash. But listen, this is where the story extends far beyond just Casino's arrest. You see, this is not the first instance of FBG members being caught up in the criminal justice system while Future is living in luxury. Young Scooter, may he rest in peace, tragically died in 2020 under circumstances that could have been entirely prevented had his people possessed the financial means to keep him far from those situations. Here's the real story of what happened to Scooter. He was inside a trap house when someone placed a false report to the police. When the law enforcement showed up, Scooter panicked and tried to run away. He jumped over a fence in his desperate escape, but a hidden metal stake impaled his leg, severing a major artery. He bled out and tragically died right there. That is a death that could have been avoided if your friend had the resources to keep you out of those predicaments. If you have legitimate legal income sources that don't require risking your life. The real twist, though, is that Future literally foreshadowed this entire situation in his own lyrics. Remember the track Feds Did a Sweep? Casino was right there in the video, surrounded by money and deeply immersed in that life, acting out scenes that would later become his devastating reality. Now the feds have actually swept through, and Casino is facing life without parole for conspiracy to distribute fentanyl. Is this life imitating art, or is art imitating life? Let's talk specifics about the charges Casino is truly facing. Conspiracy to possess with intent to distribute fentanyl. Given the amount they recovered, minus 21 kilograms, we are dealing with federal mandatory minimum sentences that have the potential to lock him away for the rest of his existence. The federal government shows zero leniency when it comes to fentanyl cases, especially when the quantities are this staggering. They are accurately treating this as a national public health crisis. Now, this isn't necessarily just about Future being self-serving or forgetting his origins. Perhaps he genuinely made efforts to help, and his relatives chose the streets regardless. Perhaps there are deep-seated family disputes we are not aware of, personal rifts that created significant distance. But when you examine the entire pattern, Scooter dead, Casino potentially facing life, other FBG members continually getting arrested, it paints a clear picture of a man who successfully escaped the trenches but left his key soldiers behind to fend for themselves. Let's truly break down what $70 million means in concrete. That is enough capital to establish every single person in FBG with legitimate, thriving businesses. We are talking about sound real estate portfolios, music ventures with proper funding, tech startups, restaurant franchises, legal methods to generate immense money that don't involve risking life sentences. You could literally hand 10 people $5 million each and still have $20 million remaining for your personal use. Think about all the legitimate economic opportunities Future could have championed. A proper record label with real infrastructure. A clothing line where his people were true partners, not just minimum wage employees. Real estate development projects in Atlanta, technology investments, large-scale entertainment ventures. Instead, while Future is acquiring Miami mansions and living the ultimate luxury life, his own blood brother is found in an Airbnb with enough fentanyl to kill millions of people.
Yeah, these guys are drug dealers. Like, shit, I mean, 4K, they got, this is kind of shocking to me. How is Future's blood brother, like, selling drugs? Like, this don't make no sense. You got Scooter running out of a trap spot, Casino selling drugs, and now I'm hearing there's another guy named Lil Double O, he's selling drugs. What's going on? Yo, Future, all it takes, take $10 million of that $100 million you got, and just give them, 2 for you, 2 for you, 3 for you. Get these niggas out of the bando, bro.
But here is a topic that rarely gets discussed. The psychological effect of sudden massive wealth. When you go from having absolutely nothing to possessing everything, it inevitably alters who you are. Sometimes you feel a profound desire to distance yourself from painful reminders of your past life. Sometimes you mistakenly believe that simply throwing money at people will instantly solve all their issues. But money without accompanying guidance, without structure, and without genuine opportunities, only leads to different, often worse problems. In the streets, loyalty is the most valuable currency. You simply do not leave your people behind, especially not your family. But success changes people, and maybe Future felt like he genuinely couldn't rescue everyone. Maybe he offered help, and they deliberately ignored him. Maybe he extended his resources, and they were flatly refused. Or maybe he just grew comfortable in his new existence and forgot the fundamental unwritten rules about looking after your day ones. The tragic thing is that this pattern is constantly playing out in the world of hip-hop. An artist achieves fame, secures a huge financial bag, moves into a different tax bracket, and suddenly the original crew becomes a distant memory. We've witnessed it with countless rappers who made it out but failed to lift their crews with them. But this situation is distinct because we are discussing blood family. Casino was not merely a street friend or a casual childhood acquaintance. This was Future's actual brother. What makes this whole affair even more severe is that Casino was apprehended as part of Operation Take Back America, a federal program explicitly targeting transnational criminal organizations. The feds are treating this as a severe national security threat, not merely local street crime. They are pursuing international cartels, foreign gangs, and massive drug distribution networks. Getting implicated in this type of federal operation means they are absolutely not considering easy plea deals or light sentences.
Coming from the cartel and these organizations, it's coming from a source, coming into the country, and then distributed on a local level in these communities like Athens, like Macon in the Middle District of Georgia, hitting the street, and then being distributed by gangs and local distributors. And that flow of drugs, that's not an opinion, that's a fact. You can trace the pattern, and that's how drugs flow through our community.
The fact that David Diaz, the other individual arrested, was from California and had no existing ties to the state of Georgia, strongly indicates that this operation was much larger than just local distribution. The feds are convinced this network is linked to Mexican cartels that are actively smuggling fentanyl across the entire southwest border. Casino wasn't merely caught with personal use quantities. He was allegedly a key part of an interstate distribution network.
The individuals who profit the most from that distribution are often not in our country, and they're profiting, making the most money out of it. That's the problem.
At the end of the day, Casino's devastating situation is not just about distributing fentanyl or being arrested by federal agents. It is a harsh lesson in loyalty, family responsibility, and the painful distance that extreme success can create between people who were once inseparable. Future made it out. But is he truly a success if his own biological brother is facing life imprisonment? Can you genuinely feel satisfied with generational wealth knowing your blood brother might spend his final years in a federal prison? The central question we must ask is, what does this ultimately mean for Future's legacy? How can you celebrate being one of Atlanta's most legendary rappers when your own immediate family is still deeply trapped in the system? How do you comfortably enjoy that Miami mansion knowing your brother is locked up in federal custody? And what kind of message does this convey to other artists about the moral imperative of taking care of their inner circle when they blow up? This entire scenario exposes the painful, ugly underbelly of hip-hop success. We are quick to celebrate artists getting rich, but we rarely discuss the heavy responsibility that comes with that level of wealth. When you escape the hard life of the hood, do you have a true obligation to pull others out with you? And if so, how far exactly does that obligation truly reach? Is it sufficient to offer assistance, or are you required to force people to accept that help? Future's catalog sale was meant to be a huge victory for the culture, a black man from Atlanta achieving generational wealth through his artistry, proving that hip-hop could establish real ownership and long-term financial security. But now, it feels completely poisoned by the knowledge that while he was securing his financial future, his closest family was still risking everything on the streets. We still do not have the complete story. Did Future attempt to help Casino, only to be turned away? Was there irreparable family strife that created this distance? Did Casino knowingly choose the street life despite having legitimate alternatives? Or did Future simply become too preoccupied with his new elite lifestyle and forget the foundational rules about supporting the people who built him up? These are questions that may never receive public answers. What we know for sure is that Casino is facing the very real possibility of life without parole. That is a life sentence, fam. No return home, no second opportunities, no family visits in his old age. Meanwhile, Future is posting cheerful vacation photos from private jets and living his absolute best life. The difference is stark, and it forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about success, loyalty, and family duty. Perhaps Future tried to help, and his people refused to listen. Perhaps he presented legal, lucrative opportunities that were dismissed. Maybe there are deeper layers to this story than we will ever fully comprehend. But the optics are terrible, and the reality is even worse. A family shattered by personal choices, difficult circumstances, and the immense distance that success can drive between people who used to be close. What is your take on Future's responsibility toward his family and FBG? Should he have done more substantial things to keep his people off the streets, or is every person ultimately responsible for the choices they make? Do you think Future let his brother down, or did Casino choose his own fate despite having other options available? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know where you stand on this tragic situation.